It's not going to matter what you have stored up for you and your family. I mean, you can go all the way down the scenario of apocalypse and there's no winning, right? There's no winning. The good news is love underpins everything in creation. And so there is a way that we can reach the vision where our children, our grandchildren's children are living in harmony with each other and the planet.
Welcome to Resilience Redefined. I'm your host, Michael Osterlink. This show is about building better humans, institutions, and systems. On the show, I'll be interviewing many different experts from across many different fields, including human optimization, health and fitness, team building, mind-body medicine. In the institutional space, we're looking at different institutions and how we can create new ones, new models and maps, including in medicine, in education, in intelligence community, in law enforcement, in the military, especially in the special operations community. Thanks for being here and enjoy the show. Welcome, Dr. Mickra Hamilton. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, my pleasure, Michael.
Yeah, it actually has been a while that you've been on the podcast, so it's really, really nice to bring you back to have this discussion. Because we've had probably hundreds of hours of conversations offline, and I get to see how you've evolved your thinking over time, and your own life has evolved over time, and that'd be a great opportunity to have you back to talk about where you're at, what you're doing, and kind of your even broader vision of human optimization.
Looking at all the upgrades.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
with human potential being limitless,
right?
Literally.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity to really express what humans are capable of. And there's been such a limiting sort of belief of what's possible. It's like that everybody uses the mile, the 4-minute mile.
Yeah, right.
There's so much more that we're capable of. And as we each express our limitless nature, there's greater creativity, more innovation, just an opportunity to really, especially now with AI, I'm so excited, to really change the way humans live on this planet.
Yeah, let's actually talk about that. Maybe you could use your own life as an example, a little bit of history of who you were that led you to becoming who you are today. And what are some of the limits that you've encountered, that you've overcome, that you can now take into the world and say, we are limitless. And I know that for a fact because I've gone through some of these same transformations myself.
Yeah, and I appreciate actually the opportunity to share. My history was not something that was relevant to me. Mm. I basically left home at, to go into the military and left it all behind. Mm. Or so I thought.
Yeah.
So I thought. Fast forward 30 years of service with the Air Force. The best 30 years, like every day was amazing. Part of it active duty and part of it reserve. Sometimes only 25 days a year and sometimes most of the days of the year. Mm-hmm. And so I had a really beautifully varied career. Started out in a clinical discipline, my doctorate, audiology. And then I was recognized as a leader, a performer, and moved into leadership, did recruiting. Mm-hmm. Imagine, right? Recruiting. Education and training, a congressional unit, Hearing Center of Excellence. It was stood up by Congress to help us create better strategies so that our members didn't leave the military with hearing loss, and need hearing aids and not be able to hear their families and grandchildren. And then what was so beautiful is life aligned my corporate practice here at Apeiron, which was high performance, with high performance on active duty. They said, we have this initiative. We want to use the people in industry who are doing it to benefit from those skills. And so for the last 5 years, I worked in human performance. And of course, having, my passion of life and also my, service to life come together in a way that those skills could really make a difference. It was like a dream come true.
Can you give me some examples of what would be the things you guys researched, studied, and tried to implement in terms of human performance?
Well, I'll speak first to the corporation. the corporation came about because at 40, I'm going to say it, even though I wouldn't admit it at the time, I was sort of broken. Life, I was always joyful my whole life, no matter what my circumstances were. There was a joy bubbling within me that every day I woke up with this gratitude to exist. And by the time I was 40, I started having children at 30. And each time I conceived, there was a little bit of kind of sadness after, right? Now I have a different identity. I'm at home. Who am I when I'm not the career woman that I thought I was going to be, right? And so there were lots of shifts that were happening. But the biggest one was hormonal chemistry. It took a dump.
Okay.
And what that does is you don't have the essential components that you need to thrive. And so in spite of having a beautiful life, the most amazing children I homeschooled, and oh my God, we had so much fun. We were always doing something amazing. There was this low level, where did my joy go? It's gone, and how do I get it back? And what's wrong that I can't feel it, even though I have this perfect life?
Right.
And so it was perimenopause. And nobody talked about that. Nobody said, hey, this is what's going to happen at a certain point, and you're going to feel like you don't want to stick around. And so for me, the shock of experiencing this made no sense. And of course, me being who I am, I said, well, I'm just going to go find a solution. So I did all the research, found a company in Las Vegas, Synergenics. They were doing age management medicine.
Okay.
But it was basically optimizing hormones, fitness, and nutrition.
Okay.
That was, leading edge. And it was $15,000. And this was in, I don't even remember.
A while ago.
It was years ago.
Yeah.
And so I just said, I'm going to commit to myself for 1 year. I'm going to go do the program and see what happens. So as life often does, because I said yes, a door opened. I was at a birthday party running an Army obstacle course for the boys. They were like 6 to 9 years old. And I was the perfect one to do it. You put a GI Barbie, out on a lawn with an obstacle course. I mean, what better scenario than that, right? And I felt this pull of my attention. And this was new for me because I'd never felt energy before in this way. And I look over and there's an interesting individual standing over with the other parents, very fit, very confident. And a curiosity, kind of sparked. And I'm like, who is that? Turned out he was actually a trained Synergenics physician.
Oh, really?
Okay. Also the coach of the boys hockey team. I wanted my kids in hockey so much because of all of the performance skills that they learn in hockey. And it's hockey and climbing are the two most amazing skills to develop all aspects of the human system.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, it's really, really amazing. And so I started on a year of treatment. In the first, and I'm not exaggerating, and people say, oh, that's placebo. In the first month, I could feel the wellspring of joy flowing, like this life force that I thought was gone for good, without which I really didn't want to be present. So as that came back, also my mind, which did 10 projects in the time that people did one, it couldn't even finish one. I could feel the neurons firing in my mind, in my brain. And there was this new wisdom of, okay, game on, because now I have everything I need to know my limitless nature. And then I was 40. And, and they say, oh, well, by 40, you lose all kinds of performance. So in that year, I gained 18 pounds of muscle, lost 18 pounds of fat.
Wow.
I was exactly the same size. I was a size 4. And now I was healthy.
Holy moly.
So my bones were osteopenic. I was
okay.
sarcopenic, which means you just don't have enough muscle to be healthy. And my cognition was really poor. I was embarrassed when I took the neurocognitive test because I scored in all of the low categories. And I, at one time, had been quite intelligent and fast. And so, it was a little humbling. But all of that came back. And because I knew how to train, by the time I finished that year, I was fitter than I had ever been in my life.
What kind of physical training did you do?
I did. Oh, it was so cool. So I had started CrossFit in 2006 in the military.
Okay. Wow. Earlier adapter.
And in 2008, we opened a West Virginia CrossFit.
Oh, I didn't know that about you.
Dan Stickler opened it.
Okay.
And I was teaching CrossFit for the stay-at-home moms. It was the best class.
Oh
I
my
loved
God,
it.
that's so cool.
And also CrossFit Kids. I was certified in CrossFit Kids.
I did not. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and our whole family, went to CrossFit, and
Including Linda.
What a beautiful, Linda, the mother-in-law too.
Yeah.
What a beautiful experience to be fit as a family and to know that you could do things that you previously thought were not possible. So we watched it in our boys, we watched it in ourselves. And then we graduated CrossFit and we started training with Rob Shaw at, he's the creator of, at that time it was Mountain Athlete.
Okay.
And then I think became Tactical Athlete. And,
okay.
He had a couple of different Operational Athlete. It was sports-specific training.
Okay.
So if you imagine CrossFit and you said one CrossFit WOD that would destroy most people turns into 3, and it's an endurance event for those who really have to go the distance because either their life depends on it or, ice climbing, you really need to have that resilience.
Right.
Military in the field, that resilience. And so we went to the certification and I was the only female that passed the physical part of the testing.
Okay.
I was kind of in shock and awe. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know, I think I was 41, maybe 42 by then. And, it was beautiful because it validated that we are so much more than we believe ourselves to be, or that people have told us that we are.
Right. Yeah, a cultural question, more larger picture, because fortunate for you, you're smart enough to do the research to find this company to get all your blood work done and get on a great program. But we're talking about a decade or plus later, most people, even with the internet as we have it, have no idea that it's possible to move beyond what the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause and actually recreate a whole new life for oneself. So, do you see that shifting over time, or are you just unique in the
I'll
system?
just share with you what happened. As I realized the power of performance when the system is given all things that it needs to thrive, right? It's interesting because we will take thyroid medication if our thyroid is out of balance. And yet we tell people that estrogen, testosterone, progesterone don't matter, right? So we've got this already biased idea that certain things should be given a pill and other things should be stayed away from. The human life cycle is at puberty, we become reproductively valuable. And then we go into really 25 years of this beautiful time in life where we procreate, we are innovative and creative, and we kind of are at our peak. Then, right, as the program ages, we decline.
Yeah.
And so you say, well, what is the true issue? The true issue is aging, right? This seemingly programmed to now no longer valuable, so we're going to just decline to death. And knowing that you can optimize your hormones. Like at 40, my hormones were optimized into my late 20s, early 30s. That was the peak time of my, chronological life.
Yeah.
And now I have the wisdom of experience of all of that life in between that I can harness to create new strategies, to show what happens when you use advanced strategies plus technology, right? To really first bring the system to homeostasis, because that's the default state of the human system.
Fair enough. Yeah.
We don't see it that way in this country. But when you look at homeostasis is the resting default state of the human. Let's just start there.
Okay.
And what happens when you take that and you take it to its higher capacity, optimize. So if we said, what is health optimization? It's where there's a more strategic focus on the things that really matter. Now we're going to do precision nutrition so that we know what is right for my genetics, my body. We're going to use nutrigenetics, right? A difference. One is eating for your genes. One is eating to improve or complement your genes. And so we use both of those. And we hold sleep sacred.
Yeah.
Right? It's the number one thing. If we're not sleeping, you can have all the great nutrition. You can take all the supplements. You can do anything you want. And the system is not going to function at an optimal level. Right? Because then
I can attest to that.
Right? We're drinking our caffeine to wake us up, and then we're taking pills to put us back to sleep. All because we're moving into this modern, beautiful opportunities, but modern 24/7 lifestyle that is not in alignment with nature's rhythms.
Yeah, circadian biology. Yeah.
Yeah, and circadian and ultradian rhythms. Right? And so as you take a deeper dive into, we are now calling it holistic systems health, but what you're talking about is complex adaptive systems that are interconnected and interrelated with everything in the environment. Right? We're not a human separate on a planet. Right? We are a cell of the planet, just like our cells are create the matter that make us up. And it's our interaction with everything that matters. What we put on our skin. What we put in our body, what we put in our ears. Are we listening to gossip and the music that speaks of disempowering humans? And where is our consciousness going?
Mm-hmm.
Whom do we spend our time with? With whom do we spend our time with? In corporations, who are we doing joint ventures with?
Mm-hmm.
Are they companies that are aligned, that are really focused to make a difference on the planet? Or are they companies that are making a difference for their pocket?
Only.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, right? I'm simply saying, they say you're the top 5 friends that you hang out with.
Exactly.
Right? We teach our children that.
Yeah.
And of course, now we look at our lives and go, oh, I really like the top 5 friends that I hang out with because they're taking action to change the world.
Yeah. I got the opportunity to spend some time with the conscious capitalism folks a couple decades ago. And as people plan on profit, you need to make a profit because you need to survive and pay your people and do well in the world. And capitalism is wonderful. But the planet is important, and your people are important too. Not just as a commodity to be used, but like human beings with subjectivity you want to engage with and have not just transactions but transformational relationships with, which I think is a kind of a beautiful overarching concept.
It is, and one of the key components of healthy living. In our holistic systems health, we have 6 domains, and here's where it departs. It started in the performance lens, and so we used to call it precision performance medicine.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
And everybody's like, and that was from 2015. Everybody's like, what are you talking about? And we're like, this is N of 1 medicine, because even though we're 99.99% alike genetically in our hard code, that 0.1% variance is what makes us unique, right? And when you look across all of the billions of souls on this planet, there are no two alike.
Yeah.
That means that having a population-based health norms, it's not going to create health and well-being.
Yeah.
It's going to create an abnormal, less than average, right? And so as we began to see more and more of the complexity of the human system, and when I mean complexity, I'm talking about the reductionist science that takes a symptom and gives it a pill without looking at what actually were the causes of this symptom. We're just going to treat that. That's going to cause another issue. So we're going to give another pill for that. And now you've got a cascade of things working against each other to confuse the system and not allow its innate ability, its natural intelligence to restore it to wholeness. Human body is a miracle. It's exquisite and is constantly evolving. It can heal itself when given the right inputs. So this is where, if we just go, a complicated system is an airplane.
An airplane, yeah.
Right? And you do the same thing every time, you get the same outcome. The complex system is the bird.
Yeah.
Imagine all the variables for a bird, right? The wind speed, the direction, the temperature, is it raining? Like all of the variables.
Magnetic pulses. I'm understanding that birds can actually track the magnetic pulses of the Earth. It's like
right, because they have their own guidance system.
Yeah, which is amazing.
That is attuned to the planet.
Yeah, which is
as do we.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so as we look at the complex adaptive system, we say, what are the areas that are critical for promoting the causes and conditions for thriving health and well-being? It's our natural state. We're not designed to become sick, sad, and broken. We're not, right? It feels like to me, the Cartesian split of the mind and the body is where we can definitely trace back the beginning of this, where now we're all living in our minds. We're not even embodying these exquisite temples, and we're expecting more and more and more, right? The sort of greedy consumerism where we're taking more than the planet can give because we're storing up for a later that we're afraid of. And so we said, okay, we already know we've got the physiological things. It's, the psychological, so physiological, psychological, social, environmental, and the two domains that people, especially medical and science, do not want to look at. The spiritual domain, which you could say the higher purpose. Something outside, even though it's not outside, but something greater than us.
Right.
That makes life meaningful.
Right.
And then the energetic domain.
Okay,
and so just I'm going to give a prediction. In the next 5 years, energy medicine will be the primary medicine. And when I say energy medicine, I say light, sound, haptics, this sensory system of this energetic being, right? Everything is made of energy, right? Energy is neither created nor destroyed, right? And we're beginning to measure it. Like we measure it with the EEG for the brain. We measure it with heart rate variability in the heart.
Skin response.
Exactly, for emotional reactivity.
Yeah, exactly.
We measure subtle energy And yet it's not translated into being open to believe that there's more to our system than what has previously been scientifically validated.
And yet the Chinese and Tibetans and the Indians have been playing around the space for thousands and thousands of years.
Exactly. And when you look at the plates that have been transcribed and, the different recorders of time, the hieroglyphs on the stone. When you look to what's been recorded in our history, you see direct correlations with nadis, the nadis, the meridians, the chakras, the things that people go, oh, that's woo stuff. Now we see validations. It's even come to the biofield sciences are valid, accepted scientifically.
NIH recognizes it. Not that you need to have their stamp of approval, but for conventional reasons, it's good to have them recognized.
And there is enough validation to go, what does that system do? And how could that system be harnessed or leveraged to assist healing? So how many pharmaceuticals would not be necessary if frequency medicine were further along in its validated state? The great news is the FDA is now approving technologies as they do pharmaceuticals.
Great from us moving forward, kind of sad looking backwards. You think about like Rife and like people like
Tesla,
him, who are just crushed by the system.
And there have always been those future-oriented thinkers whose lives are compelled by their mission. And whether it's a soul's mission or it's wherever that arises from within, they all will share that it was something they couldn't not pursue.
Yeah, right.
This is my life and performance. It's knowing that there are answers and knowing that someone is going to discover those in their own life. Why aren't we looking for them? Why aren't we curious? Why aren't we innocent, like a child, excited about the potentials instead of being the naysayers of that isn't possible?
Okay, so energy medicine is part of the big part of the future of medicine and human health. What else would you say is like, oh, these are some of the other areas which I know will be part of human health optimization?
Well, you know what? Let me just take this off.
Sure.
What I'm really encouraged by and excited about is I'm watching many more people move from sort of linear thought processes to complexity thinking. And as that happens, they're able to tie together systems that they didn't previously understand were connected. That's just complexity in the human mind alone.
Yeah, right.
Now, of course, we have access to AI.
Yeah.
And AI can take all of the information from the beginning of recorded history, whether that's passed down as a verbal lineage or actually written, then later written, and distill or synthesize it into a drop of wisdom. So now take that and go, okay, you've got these 6 domains, and we recognize that the emotions and our feelings, our thoughts, our beliefs, right? What we adopted from our cultural editors. Mario Martinez coined that phrase in his work, working with the Blue Zone, individuals and research on what makes us, live that long. And it is truly our conditioning in part. Right? Do we believe what people told us about our health? That are we in a family who has Alzheimer's and heart disease and diabetes. And we go, well, I'm going to be that too, believing that the inheritance is a destiny. Or do we say, all right, I see what I'm up against here, and I know that there's a way that I don't have to walk that same road, and my children won't have to walk that same road because I don't like watching the suffering.
Right.
That is created predominantly from lifestyle. You know, basically we're taking all of our heritage and participating in it again, handing it down to our children. And it's this, trajectory of, you look at the trajectory of the current state of health, if it isn't very quickly shifted, there won't be humans on this planet.
Yeah, just with the reduction of of testosterone, sperm counts, like we won't be able to reproduce.
And it's not just us, right? It's animals in nature.
Yeah.
It's the entire ecosystem has forgotten its source. You know, believing that we're all separate and that things are commodities that we can just take.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting for me because I go, all right, evolution is occurring in every moment. And how can we purposefully work with evolution so that we can right now inform a future that our great-great-great-grandchildren thrive in communion with each other and the earth.
Yeah.
Right? So a new form of participatory consciousness, one that hasn't been seen on the planet because we've never had the benefit of AI. And I know for many potentially listening, that's right?
Hi, Sarah Connor. Sorry.
Yeah, she was one of the people that I modeled myself after.
Actually, like physically. Actually, I could.
She was.
I could see that. Yeah,
I have a book coming out soon, and
awesome.
it talks about the people that I chose as sort of avatars or role models. It's funny that you just brought that up.
Oh, that's funny.
But this is the thing, is we've been conditioned to believe that AI is going to destroy civilization. And whether that's true or not, right, it's up to each one of us to decide. If I decide that I have fear and I know that AI is going to destroy the planet, I'm going to go and I'm going to make sure that I have what I need for my family and I.
Right.
Which really makes no sense, because if that's where it's going, it's not going to matter what you have stored up for you and your family. I mean, you know, you can go all the way down the scenario of apocalypse and there's no winning, right? There's no winning. The good news is love underpins everything in creation. And so there is a way that we can reach the vision where our children, our grandchildren's children are living in harmony with each other and the planet.
Right on.
Yeah.
So for you now, having gone through this whole path, as evolutionary explorations of these various things, optimize your own system, gotten over that kind of the hump of like, oh my God, I'm stuck here. Well, this sucks. What's cutting edge for you now personally? Like, what are you playing around with? And then also like professionally, what's
well,
in the
and you
air
know,
for
you asked a question earlier that I went around, and you said, is it available for people now? You know, because it doesn't seem to be out there. It is. Apeiron has developed it. We've been doing it since, well, Dan started in 2005. I joined him in 2008. And we've been changing life after life. And it's not we're changing their lives. It's together as a partnership. We're co-creating thriving health. And so we have clients who've been 18 years in the Apeiron system, and in one name or another.
Yeah, I know quite a few of them too. Actually, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's so beautiful to have lived their lives with them as they've gone through the life cycle of children and retirement and all the things. And I mean, we're in awe that we are so honored by, right, their trust in our care. But what's happened in the last almost 10 years is with the genetics and epigenetics, which is the real game changer, a true field of science that has hundreds of thousands of published papers, evidence-based, scientific review papers. We have a tool at our disposal to improve any genetic set that we have. My family in particular does have obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's. Oh, and cancer, of course. And I have those hard-coded genetics. I'm not expressing many of those things because of how I live my life.
Right.
Because of what I eat, because I hold sleep sacred, because I move my body the way it's designed to move in nature.
And you really do hold sleep sacred. Like we've been together and you're like, oh, time to go to bed. And you and Dan just take off, which is awesome.
Well, and all of our friends know.
Yeah.
If they're at our home at 8:30, we're going to excuse ourselves. They can stay as late as they'd like.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cute. But the thing is, all of us have within us the agency, the sovereignty to make our own choices.
Right.
We don't have to give it away to the medical establishment that says that they know how to keep us healthy. Look at the statistics. It's not true. We're number 10 of 10 in the top wealthiest countries, number 10 for the poorest health. And we spend shit tons of money, excuse the French. We're not making people healthier. We're not preventing disease. We're not using money in service to research that's going to improve the system.
Yeah.
We're paying people to be sick. And, oh, by the way, all of the fake processed foods that are affordable are creating the sickness.
Yeah.
So there's no blame being pushed. It's a simple recognition that the complex system has gone off track.
Yep.
And we have to look at the entire system to create change.
Let me ask you this. You talked about Apeiron. We're actually at Apeiron's office here in Austin, Texas.
Welcome to Apeiron.
What's that?
Welcome to Apeiron.
Yeah. You also have a telemedicine program. Would you be willing to share a little bit about that? Because not everyone necessarily can come here to Austin, but they can still get the benefit of this complex systems approach that you have.
And here's the thing. In 2010, I was sitting in my office and I said to Dan, you know what, is it too bold to have a tagline of health for humanity? And he said, no, of course not. Why not? And we can do it. And I said, we can do it. And so at that time, I believed naively that this type of medicine, where we have 0 clients on SSRIs, we have 0 clients after 90 days on any kind of metabolic medication, metabolic syndrome medication, insulin resistance. We have a few genetically who have to take blood pressure medication, low doses. But we don't have sick care prescriptions in our practice. We're using advanced strategies that optimize take it to homeostasis first, optimize the system.
Right.
And people are living happy, healthy lives, contributing in ways that many would say are unheard of. It's expensive because there's a lot of evaluation. We do full body MRIs, cardiac CT, with the AI, the Clearly AI read. We take advantage of the advancements in research and technology. It's if you said the human has always known how to be healthy, you look back to the Greeks and the fact that it was everything in life that made a person healthy. We still have that today, and we have advanced strategies they didn't have. Right? And so the ability to create a potential future that we can't even imagine is right here at our fingertips right now. except that we can't translate it to the masses because this medicine is expensive. So for years, we're like, okay, somebody's going to recognize that this is the way, and everybody will get healthy, and we won't have all this money spent on sick care. And it never caught on. And everybody has their ideas of why. And I'll just leave that out in the field. But so we started looking at how can we translate this in an affordable way so that more people know about it and can get healthy. So we started, and I'm going to tell you, we started 3 years ago on this tele-wellness model. It's the company is Clotho Telewellness. Clotho meaning, it's the gene that codes for higher intelligence and greater longevity, among many other things. I have it, and Dan's going to have it genetically modified.
Wow. Okay.
So that's another story.
Yeah.
And future now potential. So, we said, how can we do this? Because we can't have them go have all of the technology, that we evaluate with. But we really worked and figured out a way that we could translate the incredible results that we're seeing here at the center out into telemedicine, telewellness, because it's not even medicine, right? The idea is that through predominantly lifestyle modifications and a few assistants like the GLP-1s that help, shift metabolic expression, help lose weight, they're not meant to be something that someone's on the rest of their life. They're meant for short-term use, along with a program of precision nutrition and wellness and mindfulness, like the whole system. Promoting these lifestyle factors with strategies that are really very quickly effective. They're designed to reset the system that already knows what to do.
Right.
People it's just beautiful. We've watched people lose 100 pounds.
Wow.
In a year, which is really safe, and keep it off.
That's the key.
But in 90 days of, medication use in this way, in this strategic way, they drop 35 pounds. Their A1C goes from a 5.9 to a 5.2, right? They're fasting insulin, fasting glucose, who drop into healthy levels. And they're empowered. And they go, wow, I didn't know I could do that on my own. They had a little help from the GLP-1s, but then they go off those and they maintain their change because it's an embodied change. And they know how to live their life in a lifestyle that they are going to thrive.
Nice. Yeah. And this is available as a tele-wellness program domestically here in the United States?
It is. Okay. We're in... There are 4 states that we are not in, and those states I won't name.
Okay.
But they're the states that make it very difficult for telewellness providers to be successful.
Okay. Offline, I'd like to talk to you about those.
Sure.
Cool.
Sure. Right. And so we're on the verge of, we've worked out all the kinks, we've looked at all the systems and made them as efficient as human and AI can make them, and believe that we can reach a considerable number of Americans who want to be healthy, don't know that this exists in a way that it's quick. Yes, they have to do the work. If they don't do the work, it's not going to work.
Right.
But those are the clients who come to us. They know, they believe, or they know that they're the creators of their health, and that they can take the actions with guidance and the right inputs to create long-lasting, forever health until they transition off the planet.
Right on. Transition maybe to Mars with Elon Musk or to a different space. Up to them.
Time will tell.
Yeah, exactly.
But because we're eternal.
Right. Yeah.
Just this temple leaving doesn't mean that I don't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I would like to circle back with kind of the last question and make the last question. But before I do, Love to have you back on because we share an interest in veterans, and I love to have you back on to talk about using this model for combat veterans with PTS and their families and such. So invitation for that to occur.
And I say yes, and can we do it right after this one? Because, right, this is a really powerful kind of, it's like, for me, an alchemical chamber of the heart. I lived and breathed that. In the Air Force, we say my blood runs blue because that culture matters.
Yeah.
And we've, in many ways, disowned that culture.
Yeah.
And we're withholding treatments that can actually bring them to complete wholeness.
Yeah.
And so, yes, thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. Okay, excellent.
I look forward to it.
Cool. And then just back to make the last question, but also was the last question around your own evolution. What's cutting edge for you right now, personally?
Oof. Well, lots of things.
Okay.
And I'll tease you a little because we'll talk about this in the veterans work. When I graduated from the military at 30 years in 2019, I was given the opportunity to look at my life, the trauma from childhood, the reason for going into the military, a safe place where people are working toward the good, right? Keeping them safe so that they can come home to their families on a planet that has decided that war is the way. And so as I kind of tiptoed into the waters, none of the psychedelics worked, no matter what the dose was. And that's for another story. But fast forward now, it's end of 2024. So, oh my goodness, I've been retired 5 years. Is that right? Crazy. I find myself in a very different level of consciousness. The psychedelic work opened me to the embodied knowing that it's all love. At our core, at the core of creation, it's all love. All interconnecting and interrelating based on the lens that we're conditioned with, or the lens that's removed and we see truth. And so
cleansing the doors of perception.
Right?
Yeah.
And so as I look at what we're doing now, the programs that we're creating now with advanced technology, with AI, able to put all of the systems together in a way that we can distill into simplicity for the individual, the game has changed with the ability to use psychedelics to clean up the subconscious, or the collective unconscious, or the noosphere, or however you might name the separation in the duality that we're playing with in this game. Imagine what the world looks like when you combine all of the strategies together: advanced biologics, advanced technology, AI, psychedelics, and pathogens. And with the time-honored traditions, of course, that enlightened people before, now we have this whole system of figuring out the limitless nature of the human being. That's what excites me. That's what drives me every morning. I get up and I'm excited to go, I wonder what's going to come in today that will change the world.
I love that.
And that's kind of how I live my life. I mean, in service so that suffering doesn't need to be what it is.
Right. That's beautiful. So people listening, watching this, they're like, oh, I want to learn more about what Mickra does, what Peron does, all the offerings you guys offer. Where can they learn more?
Yeah, the website's probably the best place, apeironcenter.com, APEIRON, center.com. It's kind of like ape iron. It's kind of a joke, but apeironcenter.com is probably the best place. Also LinkedIn and the social media channels.
Right. Well, thank you, Mickra. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, my pleasure, Michael.